looking at the first Mishnah in Pirkei Avot, Hayeh Metunim Bedin, be deliberate in judgment. Of course, this is a requirement for the judge to be objective, because subjectivity, one would have thought, any subjectivity in judgment is going to badly interfere with the judgment, and we don't want our judges to be subjective. Or don't we want our judges to be subjective? Isn't there a certain sense in which actually we'd be quite upset if our judges were not subjective? And that is why some people actually read this word metunim and they exchange the word, the letter mem for nun. And instead of saying heve metunim bedin, be deliberate in judgment, they say heve netunim, be subjective, consider yourself as if you are the subject of the judgment. In other words, put yourself in the defendant's position. Ask yourself, the judge has to ask himself, how would he have acted under similar circumstances? How would he judge himself? Because while law has a kind of universality about it, and the laws are laws, it has to be constant, truth has to hold true in all situations. Nevertheless, circumstances shift and are variable, and the problem for the judge is to determine which part of the law and which part is subject to change. So I asked this somewhat controversial question: is when a question is asked by someone in Stamford Hill and by someone in South Hampstead, does the rabbi give exactly the same answer to both of them? Or is there possibly a nuanced answer that is given to the person in Stamford Hill, given the context in which they're living and their own kind of frame of mind, and the person is asking this question from an entirely different kind of framework, living in a very different kind of area, and they're asking the same questions, but it is possible that the answer is slightly nuanced because the judge, the rabbi, has to take into account the circumstances, who it is they're speaking to, who the family is, what the circumstances are. Yes. It might lead them to a slightly different kind of answer. I would always argue, slightly controversially, that the law does have to be nuanced and that one does give different answers to different people in different circumstances. And that's what it means to be in the tunim badin, to be subjective. In other words, to understand the subjectivity of the situation alongside the objectivity of the law, and to be able to find the appropriate balance between them. And that leads to a compassionate halakha. Although there are many occasions when the answer has to be no, and there may be occasions when the answer is a nuanced no, or a slightly, well, depends, etc. And you need to know always who one is. The rabbi needs to know always who he is speaking to and what the circumstances are of the question that's being asked for that particular person for discussion.